Kobe Bryant, a player that we've all loved, we all grown to love, etc. And over the years, there's been many speculation, many talk of where Kobe Bryant ranks on the all-time scale. You got your far left that'll say he's top three or the GOAT. You got a far right that'll argue he's not even top 10 all time. And then you have kind of like a median, which most people say, which you can find stuff like this, like on ESPN or Bleacher Report or TikTok or Twitter. And they have him in his 6 to 9 range. But I think all the rankings that I've listed so far are pretty much asinine ideas when we're talking about the ranking of Kobe Bryant. No, I do not think Kobe should be put in GOAT talks with LeBron, Kareem, or Jordan. But no, I don't think he should be put in outside of the top 10, nor 6 or 9 area with players like Will Chamberlain, Shaquille O'Neal, and Larry Bird. I think Kobe should definitely be a top 5. Should be in everybody's 4 or 5 range when we're talking about an all-time list. And before I say the reasons why Kobe is top 4 and 5 all time, I want to say what I view as greatness. Greatness is a mixture of a player's individuality as well as their accolades. So players like James Harden, Carmelo Anthony, and Allen Iverson would never rank super high on the all-time scale of mine because the most valuable accolade is a championship. They have none. And also players like Robert Horry would never rank high on the all-time scale of mine either due to his lack of individual greatness as a player or him being good as a player. With that being stated, so first, let's look at Kobe's accolades. Kobe's an 18-time All-Star, a 15-time All-NBA. 11 of those are All-NBA first teams. 12-time All-Defensive Team, that's the most for any guards. 5-time NBA champion, 4-time All-Star MVP, 1 regular season MVP, a 2 times Finals MVP, and 2-time scoring champion. I don't even have to dig too deep into those accolades because they should speak numbers for themselves. Many little players can match him accolade for accolade with rings, all NBA teams, or all defensive teams. And I'm talking big man too when I say all defensive teams, which speaks numbers on how impressive Kobe Bryant was. But another thing that speaks numbers or speaks loudly when we're talking about Kobe is his longevity. Kobe played 20 years in the league. He was fresh out of high school. He played 18 All-Star games. He played in the All-Star game in his second year. Now, this may not be impressive on a surface level because you think players like Luka Doncic have been All-Stars in their second year. But let me tell you why that was so impressive. Kobe in his second year was not even getting starting minutes yet. His minutes were, to compare them, they were similar to like Alex Caruso in 2018, which was about 22 to 25 minutes per game. He was also getting up 11 shots. To put that in perspective, that's 4 shots less than Tim Hardaway Jr. is getting up. Let that sink in. Kobe was an All-Star on less shots and around the same minutes as Alex Caruso. Now, I'm not trying to compare Alex Caruso nor Tim Hardaway Jr. I'm trying to say that Kobe is on their level or bringing those players up to that level. But I just need you to understand what he was given and what he produced. He also played a 20-year career, like I just said. But his career was riddled with injuries. Now, we know players all the time that have had to cut their careers short because of injuries. But that's not the case for Kobe. Kobe was able to fight a lot of these injuries off and still produce great numbers. Which speaks to his mental toughness, which we really don't think about when we compare players all the time that much, but it plays a big factor in why Kobe is so great all the time. Throughout Kobe's career, he's had a wrist injury, an ankle sprain, an elbow burst, a right shoulder injury, 2 more ankle sprains, a torn wrist ligament, and a knee fracture, and then the Achilles. I really don't want to say the Achilles because the Achilles is what he wasn't really able to fight that off too much. That was pretty much the end of his career. But these are all the injuries that we know, that were reported, etc. We know through interviews. You search up simple interviews with Kobe. Kobe has played through many interviews that the team doctors didn't know about. Many injuries that the media and we did not know about. Another big thing when we're talking about an all-time players list, which is really used a lot when we're talking about LeBron versus Jordan, is a player's peak. How great were they when they peak? And that's a big thing for Kobe, which is going to help my argument. Kobe Bryant was averaging 35, 6, and 6 in his peak. And Kobe as a player, in his peak, was probably the best. He produced some of the best scoring we've seen all time. I would consider Kobe a top 3 scorer all time. And I would consider Kobe a top 3 through 5 defender in all time. And this was at his best in his peak. We also know Kobe to be, I believe, the most skilled player of all time. And I don't think it's much argument for anybody else. Kobe probably has the best footwork of all time, except for Hakeem Olajuwon. Probably the top 5 mid-range of all time. He's probably a top 3 through 5 defender of all time. The best post-up guard of all time. And these are all extremely hard skills to develop. It's not like we're talking about rebounding, which nothing in basketball is truly super easy. But it's not like we're talking about rebounding. We're talking about scoring and defending. Two of the hardest skills and the most valuable skills in basketball. Yet people have took Kobe outside of their top 5. Now, up until this point, I've pretty much said all positive and things that go for Kobe being the top 5 player of all time. Now, I'm going to look at the knocks on his career, and I'm going to pretty much contextualize and debunk a lot of these. So, one of the biggest things is Kobe's lack of MVPs. But I do not care that Kobe does not have a lot of MVPs. And you know why? Because in his peak years and his best years, he was not able to win MVPs. We look at what's LeBron's best years, 2012, 2013. Who was LeBron's teammate in 2012, 2013? Freaking Dwayne Wade. Who was Jordan's teammates in his peak? Scottie Pippen. Who was Larry Bird's teammates? He had Hall of Famers. That's why Larry Bird was able to get MVPs. Magic Johnson, I don't have to keep going on. When they were in their peak, they got MVPs because their team was winning. And people may not know why winning correlates with the MVP award, why good teams correlate with the MVP award. The precedent that has been set for the MVP is that it usually goes to the best player on the best team. How can Kobe have the best team when his team sucks? Now, many people may not realize how bad Kobe's team suck in this time. So I'm just going to read to you a few of Kobe's teammates during this time. Kobe's teammates during like 05, 06, 06, 07, his best years. And I want you to tell me which of these teammates could have truly helped him get the 1 or 2 seed in the West. Kwame Brown, Andrew Bynum, Brian Cook, Devon George, Devin Green, Jim Jackson, Aaron McKee, Chris Meehan, Smush Parker, and Luke Walton. So his next best player was essentially Lamar Odom. Lamar Odom, who we know.
Sign Lamar Odom, who was on crack!
And just to remind you, I have no problem with the precedent that has been set for the MVP. But since this precedent has been set, I will not hold Kobe Bryant to an unfair standard where I just expect him to win MVPs when in his best years, his best time to compete for MVPs, he had bad teams. Another knock on Kobe's career is his efficiency, about how he's just this big old chucker. But this is another thing where it's like, I don't really necessarily agree with it. PER and field goal percentage are not the best way to look at a player's efficiency, by no means. But I would like to throw out there that Kobe has the 27th highest PER of all time at 22.9. And his field goal percentage is 45. It's usually around 45, which is about 3% higher than the average shooting guard at the time. So his field goal percentage is nothing crazy like LeBron James, Shaquille O'Neal, or Michael Jordan. But it's not horrible. And just because something is not at a great, it's just because it's not great does not make it bad. So another one of the things I'll do here is I'll compare Kobe to one of the players that's allegedly better than Kobe all time. Or at least I see a lot of people talking about that, and that's Larry Bird. And remind you, greatness is a compilation, a mixture of a player, how good he is as an individual, as well as his accomplishments. So let's look at Larry Bird's weak accomplishments in comparison to Kobe. He is a 12-time All-Star, 10-time All-NBA, 3-time All-Defensive Teams, 3-time NBA champion, a 1-time All-Star MVP, a 3-time MVP, and a 2-time Finals MVP. This means that Kobe has more All-Star appearances, more All-NBA teams, more All-Defensive teams, more championships, more All-Star MVPs. Bird has the win and MVPs and Finals MVPs are tied. I will kind of contextualize them. So many people might say, well, Kobe played 20 years, Bird played 12. So of course he's going to have more All-NBA teams. To that, I say Bird was 35 when he retired and Kobe played 8 more years. Bird is not playing a 43, and he's not, even if he did, he would not make 8 All-NBA teams. And Kobe has 9 more All-Defensive teams. Bird at 35 is not getting more All-Defensive teams. So that's that. So we can look at him as an individual player as well. If you like to do that, Kobe's a better mid-range shooter, better finisher. He's just a better scorer in general, better post player. He was more dominant and he had better longevity. So he's better at the top 2 skills in basketball, which is scoring and defending. Bird's a better passer and rebounder, but I don't care. That's not enough. So yeah, I just ran through that really quickly. I'm not going to go too in-depth with it. And with that logic that I've used previously, you can pretty much go through Magic Johnson, Tim Duncan, Hakeem Olajuwon, and pretty much see how Kobe is better than all of them as well. So with all of this being said, Let's stop the Kobe slander. He's top 4.
Alright, before you leave, I need to correct something I said earlier. I said
that Kobe was the top 3 defender of all time. I meant to say perimeter defender. But as well, if you made it to this far in the video, I appreciate it. Could you please drop a like and subscribe as well.